Sakuta can't believe his eyes when one day he's sitting in the library and a girl in a bunny costume hops around among the people, trying in vain to get their attention. But even though Mai is a famous actress, people don't give the bunny girl a single glance. Sakuta knows that Mai recently took a career break and is a senior at his school. Now he seems to be the only one who can see his senpai, which also surprises Mai, who briefly advises him to stay away from her. The next day, Sakuta sees Mai again at school and notices that she is always on her own. Having missed a few years of school due to her career, she now seems to have lost connections. None of the students want to stand out by befriending her. On the way home, Sakuta witnesses two people secretly trying to take a photo of Mai and quickly intervenes. This gets him talking to Mai and he wants to find out more about her curious behavior at the library. But she deflects attention from herself and asks Sakuta about a rumor making the rounds at school, that Sakuta beat up 3 classmates who ended up in the hospital. Sakuta denies the incident, but claims he has no interest in clearing up this rumor at school. This makes her open up to him. Having worked as an actress since the age of 6, she eventually reached a point where she no longer enjoyed acting and took a break. Shortly after, she noticed that some people could no longer see her. That's why she tested people's reactions with her bunny girl costume, because it's impossible to miss her in this costume. Shortly thereafter, Sakuta experiences the phenomenon described by Mai with his own eyes. She desperately tries to order something at a bakery, but is ignored by the shop assistant. For Sakuta, the diagnosis is quite clear: puberty syndrome. An abnormal experience caused by hypersensitivity and instability during puberty. In other words, a phenomenon that attacks the most vulnerable characteristics of an adolescent and manifests itself in various forms. Sakuta himself was not spared from this syndrome, which he proves to Mai with the large scars on his upper body. And Sakuta's little shut-in sister Keed was also a victim of the puberty syndrome 2 years ago. She was severely cyberbullied by her classmates, which showed on her body by sudden deep wounds. During this time, Sakuta woke up one morning covered in blood and had to go to the hospital, which gave him his deep scars and started the hospital rumors at school. Sakuta realizes that Mai probably suffers from invisibility, as she always tries to make herself invisible at school and stand out as little as possible, which results in her actually being invisible to some people. Sakuta sees only one way to reverse this: Mai must resume her acting career. When Mai doesn't show up at school the next day, Sakuta regrets interfering in her affairs. Later, while working in a restaurant, he is visited by a reporter who is interested in photos of Sakuta's scars. Although Sakuta has no interest in this public attention, he decides to give her a photo in exchange for information about Mai. Later, Sakuta visits his smart friend Futaba to ask her opinion about Mai's puberty syndrome. Futaba states that Mai's invisibility is related to the theory of observation and draws the comparison to Schrodinger's cat. If there are no observers for Mai's existence, it is not confirmed. When Sakuta returns home that evening, he finds a distraught Mai at his front door, now unable to even go shopping because people no longer see her. Since Sakuta is now afraid of forgetting Mai as well, he writes down his experiences in a diary. A few days later, Sakuta tries to persuade Mai to continue her acting career. He confronts her with the information he received from the reporter. Her mother, who is also her manager, has decided against Mai's protests that bikini photos of her should be published. Mai's subsequent exit from the business was her ultimate revenge on her mother. Although Mai is initially upset that Sakuta obtained this private information about her, she eventually becomes concerned that photos of Sakuta's scars will now be published. She calls the reporter and offers her an irresistible deal. In exchange for deleting Sakuta's photos, she will get an exclusive interview with Mai, who plans to return to acting under a new agency and fire her mother. To thank Sakuta for encouraging her to follow her passion, she invites him on a date. Sakuta can hardly believe his luck and excitedly sets off for his meeting with Mai a few days later. But as he passes a park, he sees a little girl crying and immediately rushes to help her. However, he is suddenly kicked violently from behind by his classmate Tomo, who thinks he is trying to hurt the little girl. When Sakuta clarifies the situation, Tomo apologizes and demands him to kick her back to make amends. Unfortunately for Sakuta, However, his kick is witnessed by a police officer, and the two teens are taken to the police station to clear up the incident. When Sakuta finally arrives at the station, Mai is extremely annoyed about his tardiness. But they continue their date anyway and go to the beach together. At the beach, Sakuta recalls an experience he had there a few years ago. When his little sister began to suffer from puberty syndrome, his mother couldn't cope with the situation and became very ill. One day everything became too much for Sakuta and he ran to the beach. There he met a girl, Shoko, who supported him in his darkest time. It was Sakuta's first love. After the holidays were over, he looked forward to seeing Shoko again at school, but she wasn't there, and he's never seen her since. After he tells Mai his story, she confesses that she also has something important to do on this beach. She had arranged a meeting with her mother to confess that she wants to continue her acting career without her. But when Mai's mother arrives at the beach, she simply passes Mai by. Not even Mai's own mother seems to see her now, and after talking to Sakuta, it becomes clear that she does not remember her daughter anymore. Mai is desperate about her situation and Sakuta has one last idea.